Hi there, this is Ronda without an H. By the way, I have to just chuckle a little bit. I start my videos now saying Ronda without an H, and yet I still get comments addressed to Ronda with an H. But it's okay, really. I know it's a weird thing, and I'm perfectly fine. I answer to that too. But anyway, okay, what I want to share with you today, I am going to start a series. I'm going to call it my brown paper bag series. And as some of you know, I've been working with white lunch sacks quite a bit, and I love those, and they're just the journals that I make from them are wonderful. But I also like something that's a little more down to earth maybe, or not so white and bright. I love paper bags, period. And so I'm going to start little videos that show different processes, and at the end of it, if you join me in this journey, which I hope you will, we will know how to complete and make your own journal from start to finish with some fun page embellishment types of things. So I hope you'll join me on that journey. Okay, this is a finished page that I have done from the brown paper bags, and I'm going to show you the first video. As you can see, I have a lot of stitching, and I have not stitched my pages together as yet. This is just to show you the process. So we will put that aside. We're going to create out of brown paper bags our paper first of all. So I'm going to show you that process. So let's get started. Okay, first of all, you need some brown paper bags. They are going to need to be at least big enough for you to trim to an 8.5 by 11 inch, which is a standard paper size. So just keep that in mind when you're looking around. You can buy them in the grocery store. You can get them lots of places, and they're super cheap. All right, so these paper bags that I'm starting out with measure, let's see, 10 3/4 inches by 5.5. So what I want to do to begin with, we'll put some of those out of the way. So I'm going to take the flap, and I'm going to fold that inside flap down. Okay? I'm going to bring my straight edge ruler, and I adore, you don't have to work with this equipment, of course, but as a quilter, I have rotary cutters and mat boards and quilting rulers, and I have a ruler, this one, or this, not the ruler, but my rotary cutter is designed for paper. I use this on paper only. So I have taken my straight edge as close to my line as possible, and when you fold this flap over, you will notice it doesn't go completely to the edge. So that's the line we want to pay attention to. So I want to do this as close as possible, and I cut it off. Okay? And if you have any questions or you want to do this while you're doing, just put the video on pause, go through the steps, and move along as you can. Okay, so see what this has created. I have the space here, and I have a space here. Now these two end flaps are still attached, so I'm going to go ahead and cut those off. And I do the same on the other side. Come on. Come on. So I'm left with this, and of course that can be a fun embellishment. You can make different things with that. So a lot of us just, you know, we don't throw these kinds of things away, but that's entirely up to you. All right. So now I have this kind of a tube, and what I'm looking for is the line that you can see where this was glued together to make the paper bag. So I'm going to, as close to that line as possible, I am just going to cut my paper all the way up. Okay. So now we have this rather large piece of brown paper. Now at this stage you can do one of two things. I've done both, but for this video I'm going to show you the other way that I've done it. Like for instance, I'll bring this back and show you. I just ironed this with the iron on here. But I want to show you another fun process that I do oftentimes. And that is, get your water spritzer. This I use with my fabric stuff, that's why it's so big. Okay. Just give it a good give it the squirt with the water. You don't want to get it too wet, but you want to get it wet enough that it's pliable, and you want to be somewhat careful as you handle it, okay? I'm just scrunching the whole thing up, okay? Now, I'm going to carefully unscrunch. Is that a word? Unscrunch? I have no idea. All right. That's pretty good right there. Now, at this point, I will take this over to my iron, and I use a hot setting on my iron, and I will press it down, press it flat, and press it dry, and I will do that on both sides. And when I do that, this is what it looks like. Okay? Now, you can also use this kind of a method, and if you were to do like shoe polish or different paints or rubs or inks, that kind of thing, you can actually make this look quite a bit like leather. I'm sure that you've probably seen that. If not, there are YouTube videos out there. I'm not doing that today. But I like this crinkly look. This gives it kind of a fun vintage feel to it. So the next thing that you want to consider is, in making my 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, because that's the size that we're going to do this particular journal, the pages will be 8.5 by 11. It's just a good standard sheet of paper folded in half. And if you don't want to use the paper bags and you want to just use papers that you have, that will be fine as well. It's entirely up to you, but I'm working with the paper bags, which is why I'm calling it the Brown Paper Bag Series. I'm clever like that. Oh my goodness, silly me. Okay, so if I measure this, and I have, and you know, I mean, I apologize for those of you that don't quilt. I'm so sorry that you don't quilt. It's such a fun hobby. I have enjoyed it tremendously. But, so I use a square, but you can also use it with different methods. This is not by any means the only way to get your paper squared up. But what I did discover is that this is long enough when I've made my paper, cut the bag up and ironed it down, that I can do some reinforcing to just give the paper just some extra sturdiness. And so that's what we're going to do right now. And I will I'll show you my process so you understand what my thought process is. Okay, so I will get as close as possible to, you know, the little dip that you always see in the paper bags. Let's bring this back. This little guy. So I line my straight edge so that I don't have that in my paper. And then I will cut along. I will go ahead. By the way, if you do decide to use a rotary cutter and a straight edge, and I am left-handed, obviously if you're right-handed you're doing it exactly the opposite. But you do need to have your rotary cutter straight up and down. Don't do this. Don't, you know, that's not good. You want to keep your edge straight. Your blade, this part needs to line up with this, nice and straight. So you keep your wrist up, and oftentimes what I'll find is that I'll stand up to do this process if I'm sitting down, because it gives a little bit more leverage. Okay? So we will go ahead and finish cutting that. I'll line this back up with my straight edge. Okay. So now we have one straight line. So then I will go ahead and turn the paper to the opposite side. I do the length, the long sides first. And this is obviously bigger than an 8.5 by 11, and I'll explain to you in just a minute here. Okay, so I want to take this second edge and cut it straight as much as possible, and I line it up with my ruler here so it's exactly the same, so I know that it's going to be straight on this side. If it lines up here, this will be straight. And then I will go ahead and trim that little bit off. And you'll notice that I am cutting bigger than the 8.5 by 11, but that of course is on purpose so that I have turned down space so I can turn in and glue and stitch, if I prefer, on both sides, and that will give some body to the paper here. And what I can also do, I'm going to go ahead and cut off, see where the paper bag attached, this is, and I can also do this. I can kind of rip that. You can see that that's okay. So I don't really want that part. So I'm also going to line this up, and I'm going to cut that off. Okay. Then I'm going to measure. I'm going to get my long ruler for this one. And I have just a little over 16.5 inches. So we'll go ahead and trim this other side off. And this is done the same way, the same process as for the length, you know, the long sides. All right. So now, let me measure that again and see exactly what I've got. Okay, 16.5 inches. And actually, to be 16.5 inches, I need to trim just a smidgen more. I know, you know, I'm just weird as far as, you know, gotta be right. Ugh, OCD, maybe. And that doesn't bother you? I'm so glad it doesn't bother you. I wish it didn't bother me. Okay, so 11 inches minus, you know, 6.5 minus 11 is 5.5 inches. Divided by 2 is, okay, 5.5 inches. So if I do 2 3/4, does that work? 1, 2 3/4. Yes, 2 3/4 inches on each side. I'm going to measure in. And I am going to use a stylus. I had to buy a new one. I broke the other one. I was pressing too hard. Okay, so I'm just going to do that a little bit. I don't want to do it so much that it breaks the paper. Obviously, if I break the paper, I have defeated the purpose of this whole process and have to start over. And then I'm going to fold that in and line it up. Okay? See what we're doing here? And then we're going to do 2 3/4 inches on this side as well. And it just gives a little bit of an indentation so that I know where it's at. And then she said, "Ooh, does it work? Does it work?" And she folds it in. And she measures. Hold your breath, everybody. Oh, okay, that's very close to 5.5 inches. I'm good with that. So, by folding that in, I'm giving this page extra stability. I'm going to do the same thing top to bottom. I'm going to fold those in, okay? Now you don't have to do it this particular way. If the measuring and stuff is just like, oh, I don't want to do that, then go ahead and just cut your 11 inches this way. You have to make your straight edges, and then you'll have this piece, and I'll show you that process as well. We'll set that off to the side. Okay. Okay, here's another one where I just cut 11 inches, which left me with this size of a piece, okay? And then I measured, so I've got 8.5 inches this way, and I just eyeballed it to see that I would have a little bit of a flap inside. This is less, this is just about 5/8 of an inch that I had. Your measurement might be a little bit different. It depends on the size of, oh dear. Excuse me, just a minute. Sorry. Oh, normally I don't get calls at this time in the morning, but all right. So, where was I? Okay, so you want to have about the same on each side. Then I'm going to just take a nice glue Here's a Elmer's Craft Bond Extra Strength. This is for a permanent bond, and I like that. And let me get a paper underneath to catch the glue. I don't want to have that on my mat board. Okay. We'll turn it around. We'll glue on the other side. And you don't have to use a permanent glue for this. Actually, this is just what I had handy. You can just use a regular glue stick for this process. Not a problem. Okay, now if I do it this way, let's bring this piece back over, and I'm going to measure it, and it's 5.5 inches, and I think I would like, the advantage of doing it this way is I can reinforce this side and this other side, but I can also reinforce the center, which is kind of nice. So let's eyeball again. Okay, 5.5, and I want 3. So if I do 1.5, 1.5, that leaves me 2.5 for the center. Okay, that looks good. And your measurements will not necessarily be my measurements. Keep that in mind. The whole idea is I'm just cutting this leftover piece so that I have, you know, some reinforcing that I can do. Oh, and look what I did, guys. See, now you learn from my mistake. Had I not glued this down, see, this would be perfect to tuck that in and glue this first, these insides first, and then fold these other little flaps over and glue and press it down. Are you with me? Okay. So, well, let's go ahead and do that. This isn't perfect, like I said, but this is just to give you an idea of all the things that you can do and use. Alrighty. And that's not bad. So we won't be too hard on ourselves here. For a minute anyway. Alright. And we're just going to, I'm just eyeballing this kind of in the center. And I'm hoping that I'm doing this in range so that you can see clearly what I'm doing. And then we will do this last piece. All right. All right. So there we have an 8.5 by 11 sheet that we will fold in half, that has been reinforced in several areas, the wear and tear areas for sure. Okay? So, this is what we're going to embellish now. So here you're going to do some fun things. You can stitch. We're going to put pages together, so there will be stitching eventually all the way around. Let me bring these back out to show you that again. What did I do with the other part? Other part. Oh! It got eaten. It got eaten. So what I did, I made a page. I made my paper. Then I took and embellished one side and the other side. And then I did the same with another paper bag and with the two. And then when I'm completely done embellishing and all of the good things that we do, I'm going to stitch. And because I have a tendency, I do the pocket journaling kind of, where I make pockets here. We're not going to stitch across the top, but I will stitch on 3 sides. Okay? So the reason I tell you that is when I'm embellishing this, I don't necessarily at this time stitch around to secure the reinforced paper that I've done. Okay? All right. Well, that's the first one. So get some paper bags. Let's see what you come up with. I hope you have a great day. I hope this video has been informative for you. I would appreciate a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Would love to have you. And have a fabulous day. Bye now.